Hey everyone, today we're taking a close look at 12 of the biggest unwritten rules in Apex Legends that can really impact your success. Some of these might seem obvious, while others are advanced strategies that even experienced players sometimes miss during intense matches. If you master these community tips, your approach to the game will change for the better. Let's jump in. Let's start with a key team strategy called anchoring. This tactic is all about teamwork and communication, and teams that do it well usually win more games. Anchoring means picking one player to hold a strong spot on the map, like a secure building, high ground, or a narrow passage. These spots give your team an advantage and a safe place to fall back to. More specifically, you generally want your support or controller legends holding down this anchor spot. This frees up your high-mobility skirmishers or aggressive assault teammates to patrol the immediate perimeter, act as your primary scout network, and look for opening frag opportunities. Because these forward players have the absolute assurance that a safe fallback zone exists, they can take calculated risks, gather intel, and immediately retreat to the anchor to reset their health if a fight turns sideways. If you want to see this executed flawlessly, watch any professional team. Anchoring is a constant staple of competitive play. Next up is a highly specific mechanical tip that is surprisingly overlooked by newer or less experienced players. You should almost always prioritize replenishing your shields before applying raw health heals. The underlying math for this rule is simple. Shield cells and shield batteries have significantly faster execution times than their syringe and medkit counterparts. In a high-stakes shooter like Apex Legends, every single fraction of a second matters. Prioritizing your armor gets you back into the active gunfight much faster, allowing you to re-challenge angles and support your squad. There are, however, exactly two rare scenarios where you should break this rule and prioritize health. You are actively taking tick damage from the ring, meaning your raw health pool is under direct, unshielded attack. You are sitting at a critically low threshold with only having level 1 white armor. In this specific situation, taking 6 seconds to pop a medkit gives you a health return, which yields a far higher effective survival pool than taking 6 seconds to pop 2 slow shield cells. When in doubt, make shields your absolute priority to both carry in your inventory and replenish mid-fight. Our third unwritten rule covers one of the single hardest habits to spectate, and it hurts my soul to watch. Players who simply do not stow their weapons enough. Anytime you are running across open terrain, your weapons need to be down. Anytime you are breaching gaps between cover or rounding a corner, your weapons need to be down. Anytime you are in a chaotic engagement trying to chase down an opponent who is actively sprinting away, your weapons need to be down. Breaking the habit of keeping your gun out at all times requires deliberate practice and discipline, but you cannot afford to be lazy with your movement. Fractions of a second dictate who wins a fight. The immediate velocity boost you receive from holstering your weapon, even if it's just for a brief moment to maximize the distance of a quick crouch slide, is huge. It's a fundamental mechanic that will positively influence every single engagement you take. Getting ambushed by a third party is an inevitability in Apex Legends. It's a core part of the game's identity, which means you have to learn to live and die by the third party. Utilizing this mechanic at the endgame is the easiest path to a free win, while falling victim to it is easily one of the most frustrating ways to go out. Preventing a third-party wipe completely stems from monitoring your immediate surroundings, tracking the kill feed, and maintaining macro awareness. A fantastic general rule of thumb to preach is that from the exact time you initiate a fight to the moment your squad is packed up and on the move again, you should not exceed more than a few seconds. Whenever you are about to engage a squad, ask yourself, can we cleanly wipe this team in under 40 seconds? If the answer is no, perhaps because they're heavily bunkered down or holding a superior position, it's often incredibly wise to pass on the engagement or wait for a more volatile opportunity. Remember, if you can't eliminate the enemy team within 40 seconds and take a maximum of 15 seconds to safely swap armor and reset, do not take the fight. Apex Legends is completely defined by its fast-paced movement, high-octane action, and fast ability play. Because of this, one of the absolute best pieces of advice I can offer is that patience is key. Showing tactical reserve and refusing to blindly rush every single sound cue will save your games. Not every single engagement needs to be forced or accelerated. More often than not, the player who exhibits superior discipline and patience will naturally come out on top simply by waiting for the enemy to make the first critical mistake. It's entirely about recognizing windows of opportunity and understanding the pacing of an engagement. Now, this doesn't mean you should hide in a bush and do absolutely nothing. Instead, look to establish a healthy balance between blindly pushing everything with zero regard for your life and playing overly passive. If you're actively looking to improve your combat efficiency, practicing mid-fight patience will allow enemies to walk directly into your pre-aimed crosshairs, rather than you constantly sprinting face-first into theirs. Apex Legends is a first-person shooter, which is obvious enough. However, one of the most effective ways to instantly increase your teamfight win rate is to heavily utilize your Ordinance slots. The unwritten rule here is absolute. You must always have at least one grenade in your inventory, and the moment you expend it, restocking that slot should be your immediate priority. Grenades are arguably the single highest impact tool for turning the tide of a losing battle, halting an aggressive push, or creating an instant window to initiate a breach. Any squad that actively coordinates their ordnance usage will instantly become infinitely more flexible and oppressive in combat. While my personal preference leans towards the precision velocity of arc stars, all three grenade archetypes offer immense utility. Much like your primary ammunition types and essential healing pools, a piece of ordnance needs to be an automatic instant pickup every single time you loot a box. Just tie this back to our patience rule. Don't blindly lob your grenades into empty space. Save them for the exact tactical moment where they can completely isolate or flush out an opponent. One of the absolute fastest ways to completely grief your own match before it even begins is by landing directly on top of your own teammates. Now, while we can't completely stop random teammates from doing this to you, you must hold yourself accountable and ensure you never inflict this on your squad. Consider this less of a minor tip and more of a mandatory public service announcement. You have to break off from your jump master before making landfall. Way too many games are completely thrown before anyone even finds a weapon, simply because squad mates refuse to separate and look through adjacent buildings. One of the worst ways to enter an early game off-drop battle is to contest your own teammate for the exact same loot pile. You'll both end up half-looted, undergunned, and completely unequipped to handle the enemy squad next door. One of the most deceiving elements on an Apex Legends player banner revolves around account levels and how players perceive skill. To put it bluntly, your account level is nothing more than a cosmetic representation of total time invested in the game. The internal matchmaking algorithms do not pair lobbies together based on raw account levels. Therefore, an opponent's actual mechanical proficiency holds no true mathematical correlation to the number on their badge. While it's generally true that individuals with higher account levels have put in the necessary hours to understand the core game loop, never let a high-level badge intimidate you, and never assume a low-level account is an easy kill. Focus entirely on their active positioning and movement mechanics, not their banner cosmetics. What truly separates the elite players from the average population is their raw proficiency with every single weapon on the roster. This versatility is one of the absolute biggest contributors to your long-term success and will drastically increase your win rate during chaotic off-drop scrambles where you can't choose your weapon. Take just 5 minutes before you enter your first match of the day to pick up weapons you normally avoid or feel uncomfortable using. Practice managing their raw recoil patterns against the targets. Within a week or two of consistent practice, your off-drop confidence will skyrocket because you will no longer feel helpless when a Mozambique is the only weapon available. Sometimes pulling the trigger on your weapon isn't the primary mechanic that secures a victory. Another highly effective way to consistently net free wins is by maintaining a strict focus on macro positioning. Positioning wins matches, plain and simple. Having the foresight and situational awareness to tell your squad to stop searching for minor loot upgrades and instantly rotate to a dominant power position is often more than enough on its own to lock down a clean win. This unwritten rule becomes critically important during the mid-game phase. Developing the macro skill to accurately predict where the ring is going to pull based on early zone data is a major milestone for your growth. Keep your eyes locked on the map, track zone pull trends, and always ensure your squad occupies the strongest real estate before the chaos begins.
Our next rule is a highly executable mechanical trick that can single-handedly save your life in a clutch situation: the post-fight armor swap. Without a doubt, the single most effective way to keep yourself alive after a brutal engagement is by immediately accessing a death box to swap your empty armor for a completely fresh, fully charged shield left behind by a fallen player. This mechanic is absolutely non-negotiable when you know a third party is actively closing in on your position. It instantly resets your effective health pool, radically increasing your odds of surviving the incoming ambush. Never hesitate during this process. Instant injection of usable armor is infinitely more valuable than standing trying to pop a slow shield battery. Secure the swap instantly, handle the immediate threat, and organize your loot later.
In my years of playing first-person shooters, there have been very few titles that can feel quite as tilting and mentally exhausting as Apex Legends can when things aren't going your way. Because of that, the absolute biggest unwritten rule of them all is to ensure you're genuinely enjoying your time with the game. If you find yourself getting deeply aggravated or tilted, step away, turn off the system, take a walk, and take a clean mental break. It is vital to remember that even the absolute best professional players and Apex predators cannot win every single engagement or pull a victory out of every match. Consistency is a long-term journey, and individual losses are simply a natural part of the learning curve. What other critical unwritten rules do you live by to keep your gameplay sharp? Drop a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. Make sure to check out my most recent Legend tier list, where I break down the absolute best characters for Season 29. Slam that like button for more high-tier strategy breakdowns, and I will see you all in the next drop.